What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be diving into a game called The Last Plague Blight. I think this is actually one of the better bushcraft games that's out there on Steam. If you're looking for a game that's purely kind of about man versus nature with an overarching story about a plague apocalypse going on, you'll be fighting with coyotes and building everything by hand up to and including making your own clay molds and casting them and doing all kinds of blacksmithing. This is one of those games that has a lot of depth, so if you're into hardcore survival sandboxes that also have very, very deep crafting systems that can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming to keep track of, this is going to be a game that's right up your alley. Today we're going to play the game for about, 30, 45 minutes. We're going to see if it's something you wanted to add to your wish list or otherwise pass on. I've covered the game a couple times in the past. This time around I'm about 6 hours into the game because I was playing it in my free time anyways, so I figured we'd fire off a video just so you can see how much you can expect to get done in about 6 hours of this game. If I had to compare it to anything else, I'd probably compare it to Unreal World. That's really the only other game that comes close, and frankly, I think this game probably has more moving parts. It doesn't have like an overworld map or anything that you can move around on in different cultures or anything. It's totally focused on bushcraft and survival, but still, I think it's actually better than that game, and so let's go ahead and dive in. If after watching this you wanted to get the early access for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. On top of that, you can also take a look down there and find a bunch of other sexy flexy Nerd Castle links, but let's go ahead and start the game off. It is the morning of day 5 or day 6 of my survival. Days in this game are very, very long. That's why they're about an hour long per day, I guess, because I'm at 6 hours right now, and I'm sitting on like day number 6. This is the camp that I've assembled thus far. Over here, I've got my hut. This is where I live at. All this is made out of wattle and daub. It started off as like a stick hut, but then I found out that I could actually daub it with mud and clay and stuff like that, so I was like, why not, dude? Why not make it a little bit more homey than it would otherwise be? We've got ourselves a bonfire out front here. We're going to be using that for all of our cooking and all of our crafting, all of our random hardening and also drying that we're going to be doing for various objects. Inside my hut, I've got like a little storage area, little place to store all my stuff. That way coyotes don't come by and steal it. I've got myself a mud brick kiln. I put it in here thinking to myself that it would keep the hut warm because my fire's radius does not reach the hut, but unfortunately it didn't work out like that. It gives off no heat, so like womp womp womp. But inside there we can do all of our clay craft, our pottery, things of that nature, which we will be doing here today because it's time for us to do some blacksmithing. So in this game, you are a guy that is a part of a village that was wiped out by a plague. You wake up in the middle of god-awful, the middle of nowhere, to be fair. There's not really a whole lot around here. There are a couple cities and things on the map that you can find if you get on out there, but you've just got to figure out how to make it work. You got to figure out how to make it work and how to survive with just the things you have on hand. Our equipment at the moment, kind of simple. I've got a saw that I made for myself out of raw bronze, like pig bronze that I dug out of the side of a cliff face, and I've got an axe that I started out with. It's a steel hatchet, but it's still been doing perfectly fine work. Things up on the chopping block that I need to get done for right now. I've been relying almost entirely upon snares in order to like catch all my meals and whatnot. Unfortunately, my snares have been very, very barren lately, and so I'm thinking I may have killed off all the rabbits. You can see one snare over there, and then I think I've got one a little bit further back over in this direction. The radius of where my snares are at and like where I have to place them keeps getting wider and wider and wider as I kill off all the wildlife. Unfortunately, I can't really go any further in that direction because there's coyotes all over the place over there, and then there's also a very, very large boo-boo bear-ass dude that just keeps blocking off my path in that direction. So unfortunately, the first thing that we need to resolve is that we need to get ourselves some fish traps. Fish traps, I think, are a new addition to the game since the last time that I played. Let me see what I've got in my traps menu down here. In order to make ourselves a couple of fish traps to augment, because we are heading kind of towards winter right now, and winter in this game could be a little bit of a headache, I think we want to get fish up and running. So I'm going to need quite a few sticks in order to make that work. The good news is I've been logging and lumberjacking all over the place, and so there should be a whole bunch of sticks and things for us to grab. Would you believe this entire area had trees all around it until I moved here? You really don't recognize the amount of damage that one human being can do to an overall ecology until you just plop them in the middle of it and you're like, listen, man, survive. And so let me go gather up. I'd like to get enough sticks for maybe 2 or 3 traps. I'd like to put them down inside the lake that's neighboring the base that I'm living in right now. So let me get my hands rough with work real fast. I'm going to pick up enough sticks to do that, and then I'll bring you over for the process of actually assembling the fish traps. That way I've got more than just one option to get myself fed, because I've been going hungry a little bit more than I would like to, and going hungry is never good. Along the way, I'll probably pick up some dandelions and things too, because there are some cool functions that you can do. This game has its whole, like, developed version of workcraft, I guess is the best way that I would describe it. If you don't know what workcraft is basically just taking a whole bunch of random plants, mixing them together, chewing on them, and seeing how you feel. You gotta experiment in this game, and all of the different plants that you're gonna find out here in the hinterland are going to be useful for various things. For example, with dandelions, we can distill salt out of dandelions. This was a thing that I'm into survivalism. I own Les Stroud books. I've practiced survivalism. Like, I've had survivalism-focused camping trips and stuff like that where I'm trying not to use any modern stuff while I'm out there. I had no idea that you could get salt out of a dandelion. That's a thing that I learned specifically from this game. And then when I verified it, apparently dandelions do have very, very high salt content. I had no clue about that. So I will gather some other various things while I'm around here, but pretty soon we should be ready to go. So I think I've gathered up enough stuff now to get our fish traps done, at least like 1 or 2 of them. One thing I do like about this game is that it's such a complex crafting game that you have to have some shortcuts in there somewhere that the player is going to be able to interact with. One thing I very much like is that if you right-click on any item, you can say craft with, and it'll bring up every recipe that has to do with that thing. So right now I'm taking dogbane stems and I'm converting them into ropes. Just improvised lashings. That way we can bond stuff together, because I haven't gotten to the point yet where I can make nails. I do have a nail cast, and we will be making nails today, but I haven't got there yet. And so for right now, the traps that I would like to have is, it looks like I've got enough for 2 traps right now. Let's make a couple of fish traps. I don't know if we'll have room for them. There we go. But with the fish trap, I don't really know how deep this should be out in the water. I've never laid a fish trap myself personally. I've seen these made before, because these are very much what Native Americans used to do. But basically, a fish is going to swim in there, can't get back out because there's little hooked barbs that face inwards all around the outside ring of the trap. And so once something swims in, it can't get back out, which actually makes this a really effective way to passively gain food. And when it comes to survivalism, passively gaining food is exactly what you want to do. Anything that allows you to take a little bit of calories out of nature without having to, like, get rid of your own calories, that's a real good thing. And so I'll probably just take this guy right here, and I'll probably put it, like, right there. And hopefully this is actually successful with 2 oh, I got a leech? Jesus! How do I get rid of a leech? Okay, so a leech has lashed onto your skin. How do I fix a leech being latched onto my skin? This is not I didn't know there was leeches in the lake, man. Nobody told me. I thought of leeches as being like a thing that lives out in, like, swamps or, like, still water. I didn't know I was gonna get a leech. Hopefully it's not on anything sensitive. But we need to deal with this wound. So I'll probably... Well, first things first, I don't know how bad this is going to infect us. I'll try and throw a bandage on it real fast. It doesn't look like it's dealing a lot of damage, but this game does have a very detailed wound system as well. If you press the O key, you can go over into your personal status over here, and what it'll show is, usually there's a meter on this right-hand side, so the left-hand side is whether the wound has been treated and sanitized, and then the right side, there's usually a meter over here for how dirty the wound is, basically, and you've got to, like, rub salt on it, or you've got to cauterize it with a hot knife. Doesn't look like I have to do that with this, and so maybe I'll just heal it. The leech has vomited infected blood into the wound. That's not great. My infection meter's at 20% right now, but it's decreasing, so... Alright, I mean, there's no open wound left. Wounds in this game are a big consideration that you're going to have to take into account whenever you decide whether or not you want to fight something. So, for example, I fought a coyote a little bit ago to get this hide. I had scratches and bites all over my body, and every single one of them had to be tended to, otherwise I was going to get infected and die. It was actually a big sidebar that waylaid my progress for the things that I wanted to do. But at the moment, what jobs do I have in front of me? Well, we need to get salt out of here. Is that boiled water right there? I am pretty thirsty. Let me drink all my boiled water real fast. We should have more than enough. I'll empty out the rest of it. So we'll empty this out. There we go. And then we'll put our pot back in. And then what I want to do is we're going to actually shift click in all these dandelions so that we can get 80 grams of salt. That'll be helpful. It's going to take like 5 or 6 minutes for that to cook off. I'll probably just throw these sticks to clear out inventory space inside the fire. I try to keep a perpetual fire running because I just don't like not having a fire. Fire is super useful when it comes to getting surprise wounded, needing to feed yourself real fast. You never quite know. And so I keep this thing burning 24 hours a day. But one thing that I would like to do here is I need to make some nails. Now, I can go recover some nails. There's a busted up town near here, or I guess a busted up house near here that we can run out to. I need 10 nails in order to finish off this tray, which I'm going to use to soak hides in salt water. Like, I have the ability to collect hides at the moment, but I do not have ability to cure them, and so they've all just been rotting and been completely useless to me. So at the moment, I've marked the house on my map over here. Let's get on over there and let's recover what we can from the house while we wait for our traps to come up with food. You do have a map in this game, although you can choose to play without it if you want. I think the intended way that you're supposed to play the game is without a map, but I just went ahead and got the map because it makes life easier. I can navigate without one, but what do I look like? A guy that's trying to stress himself out? That right there is the Blight. It spreads. Don't go inside of it. Bottom left-hand corner, you got a number of different meters that are going to dictate your status inside of the game, one of which, possibly the most important of which, is going to be your infection meter to the Blight. You don't want to get the Black Plague. It's one of those things that's really going to put a damper on your fun barbecue Saturday. And so, either way, don't go out into the Blight. Bad things will happen. There has been a hooded guy coming by my base to talk to me every now and again, and he talked about how there's gnarly stuff out in the fog that I'm not ready to encounter yet. But I don't know if the game actually has any supernatural enemies or anything else like that. So far, all I've squared off with is wildlife. Here's the house that we're supposed to be jumping up inside of. Every now and again, you'll find things like this, and they can be very useful for salvaging. And so that's what I'm planning on doing. There is a shelf inside of here. In fact, 2 shelves. 3 shelves. I'm going to use a rock, and I'm just going to bash all these shelves apart because, if I'm right about this, these shelves should have nails inside of them that'll save me a trip blacksmithing. Unfortunately, the rain has rolled in. That's really bad because fires in this game, they do take into account rain, and so our fire is probably going to go out back at base before we can get back over there. 2 of these things down now. I got to figure out how I'm going to fish the nails out of all of these little areas. I do actually kind of want the planks. I don't know if I can carry all the planks. I've got a little bit of space. We do have a sort button that the game gives you, but I find that it's not crazy efficient about the way that it sorts. But the nails that I need, we've already gotten them. I think I needed 10 nails for the project that I'm currently working on, and I don't want to leave the rest of the nails out here. Item selectivity can be a little bit rough when you've got a big gnarly pile like this, but the huge amount of nails that we just got out of these different cabinets should keep me from having to make bronze nails, thus allowing me to keep my bronze for other more important projects along the way. On top of that, we are going to have a nice stockpile of planks over here that we can hike back to base whenever I get around to actually having storage mediums that can hold more stuff. For now, though, let's head back to base. I've got the things that I needed to get this soaking basin all nice and finished off. So with 5 more iron nails there before they rust, let's go ahead and build that up, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time going to check our traps. Unfortunately, I don't have a hammer yet. There's no copper hammer or bronze hammer or anything else in this game. It looks like the only hammer that I have available is going to be, do I have a rock right now? I'm using a rock like a caveman to unga-bunga things together because the first hammer that I found on the crafting menu is made out of steel, and we don't have access to steel, nor shall we have access to steel for quite some time. And so my tools are not exactly the best for what I'm trying to do right now. We also have other problems where this game pays attention to interesting things. So as an example to that, if I had a pile of salt in my pocket and then I get wet from the rain, well, salt is soluble in real life, and so too is it soluble in this game. So when it gets wet, your pile of salt is going to get smaller, and I just failed to think about it while I was up in here. We did make some more salt over here, but I do have a whole bunch of dandelions that all need to go in there. so that we can get some more salt out, because salt is always one of those things that you can never have enough of. Unfortunately, I can't dry my chamomile next to the fire either because it's exposed to the elements right now. I'll probably build another shed during the course of this episode too. One for storage, not one that I'm actually going to live in like I've been doing with this one. I tried to put in flooring because the running water going through the area that I live at seemed like it would be really uncomfortable and probably a recipe for trench foot, but haven't gotten around to it yet. One of the things that I think this game actually captures really, really well about survivalism is just that everything is a huge undertaking. There is always an absolute deluge of tasks you need to get done in this game. Otherwise, something goes wrong. And trying to figure out how to do it all efficiently without getting yourself tangled up in the dog leash is going to be a big part of this game. Another interesting function that we have in this game is that I can start a stockpile of just about anything that I want. In this case, short planks, and it'll create stacks of them over here. You can see all of my mud bricks on this side, and then on this other side, I've got a stack of mud mortar that I crafted off a couple of days ago for bonding things together, and then I've also got clay bricks that have already been cured, so they're ready to be used for building whatever it is that we desire to build. For now, though, that thing is done. I need to find some hides, which means I'm going to have to take down a coyote. I could go get some rabbits, I suppose. God, dude, there's bears everywhere. That might be why my traps... Ooh, there's a rabbit in here. I got to get the rabbit before the bear sees me. Let's grab this rabbit real fast. Otherwise, I assure you, he will find it. And then I got to find the clicky spot, and we'll just pick up the rabbit so that we can process it a little bit closer to our home. I'm going to check this trap over here, too, because why not? Maybe I got 2 rabbits in one day. It might just... I did, dude! I got 2 rabbits in one day! I made much ado about nothing, talking about how I've been spending all my time starving, because I had like 2 days where no food became available, but it looks like today is going to be the day of the rabbit. We have been... Oh, we've got... Ooh, we got fish out here, too. We eating good tonight. Okay. So give me that right there. I got another leech, unfortunately. I will deal with it momentarily. Maybe I'll put these a little closer to the shore. Like, I'm getting way too many leeches while I'm out here. This is unfortunate. One on my right leg and one on my left leg. All right, well, hopefully it doesn't vomit any more infected blood into my wound. Did I get the fish out of there? I did get the fish out of there. Good. This right here, I'm just going to pick you up real fast, and you, I think I'm actually going to deploy a little bit closer to the edge of the water. That way, I don't keep getting leeches. There we go. Perfect. We've got them arranged a little bit better, but we're eating good today. Happy about that because it allows me to show you the complexity of the cooking system inside of this game, which once again, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It took me a while to figure out how to cook stuff in this game. So, can I process this fish right now? Oh, the fish isn't dead. Gotcha. Well, first things first, let's go ahead and drop our rabbit on the ground, and we're going to harvest him for all of his parts. Each rabbit has different things you can get out of him. Everything from hides to guts to offal to getting animal fat. All of these things have uses inside the game, by the way. So it might be a good idea just to hold on to them. Drop that rabbit on the ground, too. It's going to be like a rabbit mass grave over here by the time that I'm done. My knife is still holding out. I think I'm going to have to make a new knife pretty soon. But I wanted to play around with the curing system here today, too. But let's get dinner cooking because our hunger meter is not as good as it could be. So I'll throw the rabbit on there, and then what we're going to want is I'm going to throw like 6 cloves of garlic on there, and then I'm going to throw that on there right there, 60 grams of salt. And it looks like we've got ourselves a flavorful rabbit that's worth about 50 hunger. That'll work. Go ahead and cook it up. We only got 2 hours of fire left. Yeah, this whole area got wet. It's kind of unfortunate. Over here with this basin, I've actually never cured hides before, so this should be an interesting experience. If I add that to the basin, actually, let me eat dinner first. We're all nice and filled up. The other thing is I need to free my pot because my basin dried out faster than I thought it would. It was pissing down raining 8 seconds ago, and things that are left out in the rain, they will get filled by rainwater, but I guess it evaporated already, so like I need to fill up the basin before we can actually salt it. We've got to go through the whole process of scraping and drying and all that sort of thing for our hides that we've got inside of here. I also need to get, so like let's say So I empty the clay jar into there. It's only 10% full. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to make some trips then. Just me out here fetching water like an 8-year-old, man. God, basin takes a lot to fill up. I'm gonna have to come up with like a new water storage medium in order to make this work. Barrels or cooperage or something like that is what I'm gonna have to do. That way I just have a big barrel of standing water that I can fill from. Either that or the ability to dig down a well and find the water table for this lake would also be a really, really big come up. But for now, I just gotta do the legwork myself. I think 88% full should be good. I'm gonna add some salt, but it looks like I'm gonna need a lot more salt. But the curing is working. It's just gonna take a couple of hours. So I'm glad that I picked up all those dandelions while I was out on the road. Let me throw that right there, and I think I've got some more salt squirreled away inside of here. Not nearly enough, actually. So we're gonna have to cook off some more salt before this curing process is actually gonna work. I've only got 7% salt right there. I'm guessing we want that to be a little bit higher. We've got a few hides here that are in decent shape. I don't need that many of them, but we are gonna need the tanning frame before that gets done. And so I would say, let's just place down the tanning frame now. That way it's all ready to go. There we go. We'll put that right there. And then I'll throw the ropes that I have inside of there. But I'm going to need a couple more ropes. I'm going to need some sticks and some long sticks. Okay. I think that's manageable. I've got so many nails on me right now. And unfortunately, my chest has no further room for me to drop off more nails. Bummer. Let me clear out some stuff here real fast. I'm also just going to get this rabbit cooking so that it's good to go by the time I get home. It won't give us nearly as much nutrition because we didn't season it. It'll also have a little bit more plague up inside of it. Everything you eat in this game is infected with the booger fluids. And so we're going to get a little booger fluid on us, but hopefully it'll be all right. I know how to cure the blight right now, which is kind of weird considering nobody else figured it out. But hey, I can get rid of my blight meter if I need to. In this game, while you are doing mundane tasks like picking up sticks, there are skills. I know I had the game tagged as an RPG, because it is. You've got a full skill sheet over here of things that level up Bethesda style as you use them and as you do them. And so some things I'm really, really good at as of right now. My endurance, for example, running around the map has really mattered. I drain stamina 10% slower, which is fantastic. Fire tending, I've also gotten really, really good at lighting fires, because wouldn't you figure it, almost everything in a survival situation requires you to light a fire, and we have a steel dagger available to us, which makes the whole process a little bit easier so long as you have a flint, which I found pretty much straight off the rip, and so not a whole lot of stress right there, but keeping the fires up and running has been a big chunk of my time. So let's see what we have for the tanning rack as of right now. So I need 9 long sticks. I probably don't have enough of those just due to space constraints, but I do have enough normal sticks. I also needed a few more lashings. Gotcha. There we go. Now we're golden, and we've got our tanning frame ready to rock. Hopefully, oh, he's just putting it together right now. All right, I wasn't sure about the integrity of my Unga Bunga 5000 over here. I didn't know if it was going to hold up for another construction project, and so I'm glad to see we're just doing it by hand instead of bashing on it. Tanning frame is up and running, so we can stretch and dry our treated hides. Luckily, we got everything done before everything was done curing, so we should be in solid shape right there. It looks like they're still ticking upwards in curing, so it should be all right. I went to the liberty of grabbing more dandelions while I was out and about too, just to make sure. Can I craft with that at all? Yeah, you can make like sausages and burger patties and stuff like that out of the meat you collect too. I'll probably throw that excess in there just to keep the fire going for a little while. We can throw all the chamomile next to the fire to get it drying, because that's going to be hugely helpful. I'm going to throw a little bit more salt on the cooker real fast, and I think our needs are pretty much taken care of for today. I don't think we have too many other problems to really look after. I do need to make a kiln, like a larger kiln for firing larger pottery projects. The clay brick one over here is the one that the game wants me to build, and I think I have the stuff for it, but I don't know if I have 20 bricks. I have 23 bricks, so we just barely have enough. Then while we're standing here, I will go ahead. I don't want it on, like, really unflat ground, though. I'll probably put it right here. There we go. unbuilt clay kiln over on that side. I'm going to need some more bricks dough. 3 more bricks and a whole bunch of mortar. There's our 3 bricks. I don't know if I have enough mortar on hand to actually finish this thing off. It looks like I need 2,500. I don't know if I have 2,500. I have 2,200, which close only works with horseshoes and hand grenades like Dad used to say. All right. Other tasks that I kind of wanted to tug out today is I had my eye on the idea of making myself a flint spearhead and then making a flint spear. That way I get a little bit more DPS and can fight with the bad guys a tiny bit better. We also have arrow quivers and stuff that we can make, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. I think I can make one, so let's try to hammer out the spearhead real fast and just see if that gives us the thing that we need. It did. 100% condition for durability. My man's good at napping. I'm good at napping too, but in a different way. There's no K at the beginning of my nap. Like, it's just me unconscious being lazy. I should probably clean up some of this. I got like rabbit bones and rabbit corpses everywhere. I know it's going to bring in bears, and so I need to like throw these along the edge of town. That way they just sort of rot and get out of my inventory. There we go. Now I just need a long stick, and I think we can make our spear. That way I actually have a weapon. I've been using my axe and my knife to fight things, but I get the vibe that it's maybe not the most efficient way to be taking down game. I don't know if we can throw the spear. If we can throw the spear for opening damage, that'd be even better, but I guess we'll find out in a second. Okay, let's combine it and see how it goes. Come on. There we go. So we've got a flint spear. It's got a 25% chance to open up a wound, which I think is pretty cool. Can I put it on my belt, or is it one of those things that I just need to have? So it looks like it's mostly two-handed. Like, I'm going to have to equip it manually before we go into a fight. But this gives me a way to protect myself against anything that might be out there. And I get the feeling there are things out there as of right now. Looks like our hides are cured. It's going to take 4 hours for the hides to get done. It looks like I can transfer them over to the tanning frame now. Unfortunately, the tanning frame only has itself one slot, so this is going to be a long process to get leather unless we make multiples of these bad boys. I was definitely hoping I could maybe double mount on each side, but I don't think that's the way that it's going to go for right now. So we're going to have to get creative with our tannery here. Otherwise, we are never going to have things like gloves to protect our fingies. And protecting your fingies, if you interact with stuff that's infected, you inherently get a little bit of that infection on you. And so I'd like to get those done sooner rather than later. In the meantime, if I can get clay and some mud, we can make a little bit more mud mortar so that we can finish off the brick kiln. This is bigger, so I've got a smaller kiln inside of here. The only thing it's good for is small objects. Things like jars, things that won't hold very many fluids or store very much stuff. This allows me to make much larger pieces of pottery and also fire them without things falling apart. And so I'm going to need mud and I'm going to need clay in order to get this finished off. I've got the clay covered, so I think we're good there. I've got a little bit of mud too, but it's not going to make enough mortar for us to get there. So let me go back to my mud dig. I've got a spot over here that I've been digging mud out of with my bare hands like an animal. Like a 3-year-old unattended. I'm playing in the mud right now. There we go. That should be enough. I don't know how much mortar I've got to make, but I'd like to make a lot of mortar. Okay, I think I've got enough mud mortar to finish this project off and just get it hammered together. So let's throw a little bit of that in there. And there it is, our brand new clay brick kiln. And look how big the firing area is. That's going to be very, very useful. Unfortunately, I have to have charcoal for this to work. And charcoal in this game is a headache to create. You may notice there's kind of like a black circle right there. That's where I've had my charcoal kiln. So basically you can build a charcoal pit and cover it up with dirt and then come back for it like a day later and there'll be a whole bunch of charcoal inside of it. But charcoal manufacturing is very, very time consuming. I need to get firewood before anything else. So I think hacking down a couple trees is really going to be what I spend the rest of the day doing. We got rabbits in our trap, which is good. Large tree or small tree? I guess a large tree gets us there faster. Every action in this game does have its own animation. Things like chopping trees or mining ore. They are all done suitably well. Everything is very immersive. You probably didn't notice because I more than likely edited it out. But when we were putting together our kiln over here, it makes a different sound when you're stacking the parts based on what the actual object is comprised of. So if you're building something out of clay bricks, it goes clink, 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 clink while you're building it. If you're building something made out of sticks and twigs, you get the sounds of ropes tightening and things grinding past each other. A lot of like little details have been paid attention to with the soundscape of this game, although one thing that's suspiciously lacking is music. There is no soundtrack to this game, which is one of those things I think they probably want to get in there, something to cozy out the vibes of the game a little bit while you're hacking down trees and doing other stuff. We do have different tools that we could apply to these trees, so for example, if I wanted to get planks out, I could just saw the tree down, and in sawing the tree down, you don't have to process the wood quite as aggressively. And that'll just make planks for you. Make sure you have the proper tool equipped when you're trying to do these jobs. Otherwise, you'll do what I did when I was reacclimating myself to the game. And you'll be like, how the hell do I actually saw this thing? Tree successfully chopped down, and now we're on to the processing part of this whole deal. I'm going to try to make a decently large firewood pile. I've been eating through my firewood much too quickly on this adventure, and I just never get around to the boring, droll task of actually trying to replenish it because these are really heavy and it takes a while to get them back to base. But I do need to make a big pile of firewood for winter too. That way I can avoid exerting myself when it's already freezing cold. But realistically, I just need the tannery to be up and running so we can make winter clothing. Hey, that wolf's eating out of my trap. You better get out of here, you little turd. Yeah, 40 damage right there. How you like that? How you like that? You thought you were going to roll out of the woods and eat my rabbit? No. Hey, you still want some, or are you just like running away now that you're horrifically mangled? I still want to fight you. Do you still want to fight me? I thought we were going to fight, bro. Now you're whimpering and running away like a little sneak thief. Man, you better get back over here and fight me. He's not getting back over here and fighting me. Survival's so disappointing sometimes. Like sometimes you get that good stab off on the enemy. How bad is that scratch that I got from him biting me? It's untreated right now. I'm going to have to rub some salt in the wound in order to get it fixed up. I got to get my bandages from back at camp too. I was hoping we'd get a kill out of it before anything else went wrong. Maybe I can bait him back into fighting me. Hold on. Did he reset? I think he despawned, unfortunately. All right. Well, not much that I can do about that. I'm definitely not taking on that massive pack of coyotes over there, though. That's going to be far, far, far too many wounds for me to take care of effectively. But being low on salt like I am right now, and normally I'm a pretty salty guy, we need to focus on replenishing that. So that's 32% tanned right now. How full is this still? It's still 61% full. As long as these things are not degrading inside of here, I'm happy with it. So for clearing up this wound, character actions lie down. That's not what I wanted. I need this right here. So what we need to do is we need to click and drag the salt over here to sanitize the wound. It shouldn't take much. You can also put disinfectant on it if you want to double treat it. But I just need one of my bandages out of here. That way I can slap on a bandage real fast and it'll start to heal. This game follows Project Zomboid's rules. As long as the wound is somewhat treated, you're not going to keep losing health, and you should be able to recover a little bit before things go completely and totally pear-shaped. But sometimes one treatment doesn't actually effectively heal the entire... I got bit in the head? How'd you get bit in the head while wielding a spear? It's a coyote, dude. It's the size of like a small terrier. Just kick his ass, man. Another thing I'd be curious about is that all of my tools are rusting ever so slightly. And so I need to figure out a way to get the rust off of them too. Like a sharpening stone, maybe? Is that a thing that's in here? It's not in here. Grinding wheel. Okay, so grinding wheel's right there. And it's going to take a large sandstone chunk. I don't have the means to do that right now. I do have the stuff on hand to make a workbench, but I don't have any room left inside my covered storage over there to really make it work. So I think I'm going to have to build another hut too, which is a whole nother bag of worms. It's going to take forever. Like, I don't know if I want to do that process on camera, so let me just lay out exactly how building a structure works in this game. You've got to put down support posts. After you put down support posts, you got to put in support beams, then cross beams. Yes, you have to do all these activities individually. Then from there, you will have a frame. Then you're going to wattle the walls. Once you have the walls wattled, you're going to daub the walls. Then you're going to put in the roof framing. Then you're going to actually put on the roof thatching. And it's a very, very long process. Like, it's going to take a solid entire day of playing the game for me to make another shed. I suppose I could squeeze a bench in over there, though. Is it going to fit if I put it in right here? It will fit. Okay, well, let's put in the workbench then. I've got all the nails taken care of. The long planks, I know, I've got a big pile of long planks over here that I couldn't fit inside my inventory earlier, and so maybe use them for something here, but I think I can only carry like 2 of these things at a time. They are massive by comparison to other instruments of construction inside the game. Like, they're really, really big. Man, those wolves are migrating towards my base. They're trying to get away from the plague. The plague spreads the longer you play the game, and you gotta like work on the storyline in order to figure out how to stop the plague from spreading and overtaking your base. But since I was playing the game just to record a video to let you know this game exists and that it's freaking awesome, I haven't gotten around to that yet. On the plus side, I do have a decent stack of firewood going, which should keep us rocking for another day or 2. I don't know. Let's add like 4 hours to that just in case it rains. It'll make life a little bit easier. I got all my chamomile in there too, but I'm kind of like at a loss for tasks to do right now. I'm sure there's little maintenance tasks that I need to get done. Water. Yeah, my water meter's basically empty. We have to boil off all of our water because it's all contaminated. We got to make sure we bake all the viruses out of this thing. That way we don't end up with a runny nose. Throw that in there to get that moving. That should be enough water to get me filled up, but it's going to take a while to get our half of liter of water to boil off. There we go. I was trying to keep that old skin nice and supple, and unfortunately I got real dehydrated. Let's throw a few more of these planks in here. I'm just trying to get this bench done to see what it unlocks for me. Like, I do need to make a clay mold because all of my tools are getting pretty worn out. I'm guessing I'm going to have to replace them all with bronze. I've got the cast for a bronze saw, so that's not hard to make. But if I wanted to make like a bronze axe, for example, how does that compare to what I've got? So I've got a hatchet. That's actually like doubly better. So if we wanted to make a soft clay axe mold, that wouldn't be that bad. It's only 300 grams of clay to get that done. For the knife, we would need 600. Maybe that's what I'll knock out right now, because it does seem like the handcrafted stuff, it seems like, there's our 600 right there for our molds. It seems like to me that the knife and the axe that we can craft have way better efficiency than the hatchet and like the boot knife that you start out with. And so it may be something worth investigating, I would think. So first things first, let's get mold over here. And we wanted the axe mold and we wanted the knife mold. Those are both done. But both of these, now that they've been sculpted, they're going to have to be fired. I think I can fire these just in the smaller kiln so that I can save some of my charcoal for the casting process. But is this guy all nice and loaded up? He is not. So this guy is not ready to burn at all right now. Okay, good to know. Starting a fire in this game, a little bit more complicated than in other games. We're going to need a lot of kindling, and we're also going to need a little bit of tinder to make this work. Now, I've got the kindling right there, but the tinder I don't have on me right now. Unless there's a pine branch right there. That'll work. Give me that pine branch right there. Give me both them old pine branches right there. And then what I'd like to do is we're just going to say craft with, and we need to tear this up into some tinder. There we go. So now we've got it ready to rock, and we should be able to get this thing up and running. Let me throw the leaves in there. Ignite that bad boy. Good. So we got 22 minutes of firing. I'm going to throw the remainder of the twigs inside of there just to guarantee that it gets done. I think I can fire both of those at the exact same time. I'm a very, very productive boss when it comes to the hiring and firing. And fired they are. So once those are finished off, we might actually be able to kickstart the crucible over here. And depending on how much it's going to take in terms of tin and in terms of copper, I may only be able to make one tool, but I'd like to make both. I'll probably get back with you in the morning just because the sun's going down right now, and it's very, very dark in this game. It is not a great environment to record a video in once the lights go out, and so probably gonna have to wait that out. On the plus side, I did manage to get the unbuilt workbench done, so that'll be good, but we gotta build it with a rock, so I'm not gonna hold out a lot of hope that this is gonna go super effectively. Rocks tend to break very, very frequently while you're using them as a hammer, and so we'll see how the little guy holds out. Some rocks are better than others, some rocks just built different, but I don't know if this is one of them. And voila! Many rocks later. Listen, most of these rocks were not up to the challenge. Their mothers were absolutely correct about them. But we've managed to finish off the workbench, which should allow me to, I don't know, maybe make stuff more efficiently. It looks like I can take my knife and I can put it on the edge of a stick and I can make it into a spear, but then I don't have a knife to play around with, which would be a definite problem. Let's maybe cut up some of this bass meat that I've got in my inventory right now. I got so many fish and whatnot that I might as well cook up dinner too while we're hanging out. Oh, it allows me to shaft out arrows. That would be good. That would be very, very helpful. I also have the ability to make an axe handle, which will be nice. I couldn't do that before. I can also start casing sausages if I wanted to, just to save on meat and other stuff. You can make cairns for navigation if you're not playing with the map turned on, which is kind of a cool feature. You can also make boats and rafts and stuff like that to get to other areas. What I've got my eye on, though, is all of this various equipment that's going to make my life a little bit easier. We got our first piece of leather, too, which is really good. Nice. Well, let's not go too crazy then. Let's make sure we're staying on top of this stuff while we're out here. I mean, I desperately wish that those could stack, but they just don't. I've got water on the fire over here. We'll drink up real fast, and then it's fishy time. Just empty that out. I don't think we're making fish stew right now. Instead, I'm just going to slice up a little bit of bass. That we don't get hardly any hunger back from eating fish. That makes sense. I mean, it's a cut and lean diet. I'm going to stoke up the fire, and I'll probably come back in the morning, but with leather pieces. So we get 2 leather pieces per hide. I mean, I can make gloves. That would be good. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that real fast. I would like to have some gloves. And looky there, now we've got gloves on. They protect our hands while interacting with contaminated substances. With these other 2, so I've got these molds right here, and I kind of need to place them. I don't know if I want to, oh, they're trying to go outside right there. I wanted to put them up on a table because you can see all my molds over here, but they're in like crappy spots that are hard to see. And when you're carrying molten metal, I prefer for things to be really, really efficient. But I guess I need 300 milliliters for that. And then for the knife, what did I need for the, for the axe. What do I need for the axe? 300 milliliters. Okay. I don't know if I have enough raw material on hand to actually do that, but I'll give it a try in the morning. The sun has risen on a brand new day, and so the tasks we need to get done for this afternoon, I guess it's afternoon where I'm at right now, but in the video game it's morning time. It's very vexing and confusing. But for right now, what we need to stay on top of is, my curing still going over here, we needed to actually start forging. So hopefully I have the stuff available. I've gone off camera and I've gathered it all up, so we should be ready to fire off here. But we need to get a mixture of copper and tin that's like 10 to 1. So let's ignite this fire real fast, and we'll see how long it's plotted to stay up. So we've got 3 hours worth of fire. That's not bad. And so we want to get some tin ore in there. Well, not 10 of them. I don't think we need 10. Let's get as much copper as I can inside of there. I don't know if it's going to be enough for the task we're actually trying to take care of, though. I may need to go hunt down some more copper, but copper's really, really hard to find. So realistically, we would only need like flawed quality bronze right there. So what I'm going to need is we need to split that to be like 10%, so probably like 4 will do it, would be my guess. That'll give us 400 milliliters of bronze. It's not going to be enough to do both of our tools. It'll be enough to do one of our tools. So let's start the smelting process right now. I'd probably take the axe before I take the dagger. I was hoping I was not going to have to go hunt. Oh, there's some more copper ore right there. We might be able to eke it out, and I think I have some like bronze slag around somewhere too. Yeah, I do have 95 grams of bronze right there, so I may be able to do something to melt this off. And it looks like with what I had left on hand, I am actually going to be able to make both objects. So that's super good. I wasn't sure if it was going to piece together. One thing I actually really like about this game is that when you make molten bronze and you have it in your crucible, if you don't end up using it before it cools, you just get a hardened piece of bronze that's of the same amount of milliliters that you had left over, so that you can bring it back later. Like, you get the byproduct back, which is really, really nice, because very rarely are any of the things we're trying to do here actually perfectly divided up. But I'm going to need both hands to make this work. So there we go. We've got our crucible. And we want to put this inside the axe mold. So we'll put that inside of there. And then we want to put the rest inside the knife mold. Perfect. And so that should be ready to rock. I don't think we have that much molten bronze left over, but we've got a full set of T1 tools now in the production. We just got to let those in there. We're not going to cast them or forge them or anything else like that. This is very, very basic bushcraft. Later on, when you get further on into the game, there's going to be an ironworks, and you got to learn how to work with iron blooms and things of that nature, where it gets a little bit more complicated, but for the moment, it should be decently simple. If I wanted to make a knife handle, what's that gonna take? So soft clay knife mold. The hardening process is complete on both of these, so I can get my bronze axe blade back, and I can also get my... Oh, we just get a full knife out of there. Okay. Is it as good as my other knife? It's not as good as my other knife, but we could keep it as a backup just in case. My other knife's made out of steel, but it is rusting with each rain. And so it'd be nice to have an extra knife on hand just for when that inevitably kicks the old bucket. I'll put it in storage so that it doesn't get wet. That feels like a strong play. This guy right here is not in great condition straight out of the bag, but neither is my other axe, and I don't have a grinding stone or anything yet to actually get the impurities and problems out of it. So until I do have that grinding stone, this is going to have to make do, I think. The other thing that I'm going to need is for the axe handle. So, like, let's go with an axe handle here. Nope, not handle. This is not like the Danish version of making an axe handle. We just need a short plank for that, so that should be easy enough. I got a pile of short planks over here, and I will just split off one. And now that I've got my plank, I need a wood strength chisel to make the axe handle. How hard is it to make the chisel? Is that a pain in the ass? To make that work, I need a large piece of flint, I think. And so I've got to make my chisel out of flint right now. And so if I craft with this, I can make a flint chisel blade right there. We hammered that out, and so now I have the flint chisel blade, which hopefully will attach to something. It looks like it does count for the axe handle, so I don't have to worry about that too much. I don't need to mount it on anything or anything else. Then we will go in and make our axe. There it is, our bronze axe. Let's go. Nice, and I got some metalworking skill from it too. That's got 48 chopping damage, which I think is higher than the chopping damage of the steel hatchet that we have. Yeah, actually, it's a 50% increase, so that's nice. I've made my own tools, and we're all ready to rock. But this right here is the last plague. It's called Blight, the Last Plague. I think this game is really fantastic. I think it serves a niche audience. Like, not everybody out there is going to find this game to be entertaining, because the fact of the matter is survivalism is a lot of busy work for not a lot of payoff. And this game reflects that. This game has a ton of activities and stuff that you need to be working on end of day every single time. Otherwise, the baby just gets thrown out with the bathwater. You're going to spend the vast majority of your time in this game generally just doing maintenance tasks around the camp, like keeping the fires lit, making sure you have enough salt, making sure you have enough water, making sure you're periodically catching fish, making sure things are going smoothly. And that's really survivalism, the boredom of doing repeat tasks over and over and over again just to make it another day. However, the game does have exploration. There are caves. I've gone into one or two of them. So far, none of the caves have had anything brutal inside of them that tried to murder me instantly. I was a little worried about that. There are cities and things like that on the map that you can go and investigate, although most of the cities are going to be heavily plagued, just in case you were wondering. So you're going to want to have, like, plague protection equipment before you go in there in order to scavenge and grab stuff out of the houses that will save you a lot of production time. So for example, this big jar that I've been using to collect my water in, that's where I got it, is I recovered it from a house that I found. The one, coincidentally, that we were deconstructing at the beginning of the game, that's where I found this clay jar right here, which is something that I had no means to produce, and this thing has been a massive boon in making my life easier. I do need to look after my plague levels for right now, but I think it's a good spot for us to jump off the video. If you're looking for a pure survival bushcrafting game with an enormous amount of like depth in its crafting tree, its activities, the stuff that you can do inside of it, this game is one of the only games that to me rivals the Long Dark in terms of what you can do. Long Dark is a little bit less crafting focused and a little bit less subsistence focused than this game is, unless you're playing on interloper mode, but that's kind of what this game reminds me of. It reminds me of the Long Dark on interloper mode, where if you want something done, you gotta go get it done yourself, and along the way the map is being taken over by this awful viral black plague that you're trying to solve along with the narrative, and you're just crafting your way up the tree until you have the equipment available to do the next mainline story quest. I found this game to be incredibly entertaining. The last 7 hours have just flown by. I guess it's more like 8 hours now, because it took me about 2 hours to get this video recorded, but hopefully you guys like it. This is one of those games that I always enjoy coming back to. It is frequently updated. The developer is very, very vocal about what he's working on and posting Steam updates and stuff like that. I have no doubt that this is going to be an utterly fantastic survival sandbox, and thus I have no problem endorsing it. The only problems that I've seen so far with this game is sometimes pathfinding can get a little bit weird when you're chopping down trees and there's a lot of stuff around the tree. Your character will stutter step, get stuck, stuff like that. It hasn't been permanently stuck though. You can just like step off of it and try again or clear out all the debris. And then from there, I think the game would definitely benefit from having a soundtrack, like music in the background, to help you get into the lonely vibe of just surviving in this environment. One thing that I think back on fondly when it comes to the Long Dark is just the soundtrack. It feels like the soundtrack is reflecting the world in which you live, which then helps you get immersed and get on theme, which then makes the survival and the dedication to it feel all that more satisfying. But that's all I've seen so far. I do think the game could use, so some of the recipes in the game are a little bit too complex. Largely all recipes that require salt, they'll be like, oh, for every 100 milliliters of water, you have to painstakingly add 25 grams of salt. I do wish that the cooking had a button that was just like auto add optimal amount of salt. Like, maybe make the player do it manually one time, but once they've figured out the actual amount of salt that needs to go into stuff, then you can just auto do it with a button after that. But that's pretty much the only thing that I've noticed so far. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what is worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were fooling around with a game called Blight, The Last Plague. I think it is extremely good, and I enjoy it very, very much. I will see you all later. Thanks for hanging out with me. That's about all I got for you, folks.